Good evening and welcome to Electronic Game Information and our Quarant-Egi series for these troubled and difficult times. My name is Robby Rackleff. So happy to be here with you here on AdultSwim.com. We have a wonderful show for you tonight, but first let's dive right into our news headlines for the evening. First up, if you are looking for a wonderful action platformer for the entire family, one could do a lot worse than Super Magnetic Neo on the Sega Dreamcast. Super Magnetic Neo on the Sega Dreamcast was released in the year 2000. It is a action platformer developed by the wonderful people over at Genki, the people that brought us Bushido Blade, the Bushido Blade series, and on the PlayStation, and Kengo on the PlayStation 2, and I believe that there was 2 Bushido Blade games and 2 Kengo games. Genki, the people behind Super Magnetic Neo, this wonderful slippery action platformer where a young man with a head of magnetism, a magnetic head man, is tasked with overthrowing a great evil. A great struggle takes place between the head boy and his friends and the people of that world, as they fight for what they need, fight for what they want, and in this situation, aren't we so familiar with a similar struggle? Thank you. And Genki also made Tokyo Extreme Racer on the Sega Dreamcast and Tokyo Extreme Racer 2. Next up, we all know and we've all heard the news that there is a Resident Evil 4 remake, and people are up in arms about this Resident Evil 4 remake, because Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 made good remakes does not mean that a game that was, I think most people will agree, quite perfect at a resolution of 480i. Resident Evil 4 was, of course, 480i on the Nintendo GameCube when it was released in 2005. It should not be any higher than that. And most people agree with me, and I think that you'll find that when and if a Resident Evil 4 remake comes out, that people will not rush out and buy it. Mostly they will stay home and say, no thank you, mom and pop stores carrying Resident Evil 4 remake on, we can only assume, the latest Xbox and PlayStation consoles and perhaps Google Stadia. I'm also making an EGI announcement tonight that I am thinking of writing a Resident Evil 4 play. If you are a fan of driving, if you are looking for a club, and if you are a fan of driving and a fan of the Atari Jaguar, you could not do much better. You could do a lot worse, but you could not do much better than Club Drive on the Atari Jaguar, released in 1994. Club Drive answered and asked the question, who do you drive with? Do you drive alone, or do you drive with the team in the club? And answered that question that I drive with the team. I also drive alone in these amazing, at the time, polygonal environments, recreations of the Golden Gate Bridge, and of course, beautiful downtown San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge, one of the classic bridges of our age. Club Drive, of course, is a premium driving game, and this means that when it was released in 1994, that it was given a head start by the fact that it was on a brand new, high-quality 64-bit console with a very, very, very underpowered graphics card, and that's why you see these hard edges. You can see up close here in the slide here, these hard edges, these sort of places where the pixels bleed into other pixels and don't quite get it right when it comes to showing off these clubs that you are in the club, that you're driving, that you're in the club. Okay, so picture yourself in the club driving, and what is this? Is it you're driving to it, or are you driving? Is it a place? It could be the end, it could be the finish line, and we only hope that the driver of Club Driving will answer the question, where will the car go? So last story of the evening is, of course, a big happy birthday to Ni no Kuni 2, which came out a little over 2 years ago on March 23rd, 2018. Ni no Kuni 2 was, of course, a game with a great sense of style, a great sense of character, a great cel-shaded artwork. maybe random battles. I didn't play Ni no Kuni 2. I didn't play the first Ni no Kuni, but I'm pretty sure the first Ni no Kuni had random battles. So I can only assume that the second Ni no Kuni also had random battles. But because it was developed by the good people over at Level 5 Entertainment, the people who brought us the incredible, absolutely incredible Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2 series of games on the PlayStation 2, that there is also a town building mechanic. And aren't we so just enamored with those types of games these days? But with your Animal Crossings and your Stardew Valley and Graveyard Keeper. Graveyard Keeper is, of course, another great. It's not a town game, but it is a game where you start small, you get big, and you build up yourself, you build up your people around you, you build up your community. So this is a show where we try to build people up, not tear them down. And so a game like Stardew Valley, a game like Ni no Kuni 2, and a game like not Soul. It was the newer game that was supposed to be like a spiritual successor to ActRaiser. Let's not worry about that game too much, because we are going to introduce a special correspondent and fan of the show, Alan Resnick. Alan, how are you doing tonight?
Robbie!
Alan, how we're hearing you live. You're on Electronic Game Information. What's
I'm happy
the scoop?
to be here.
Happy to have you, Alan. You look. I'm not gonna lie, Alan. You don't look good. You look quite bad. I don't like the way you look right now.
That's okay, Robbie. It's okay. I'm feeling very good. I just beat I beat Half-Life Alyx.
Congratulations, Alan. There's nothing. Here's the thing: is that there is something sad about playing a game to its conclusion, isn't there?
Yeah, I think I'm happy to be back in this world, but when I just beat it moments ago. I've been in there. I've been playing it since the last EGI, and there is something about being pulled out of a world like that, because I was gone. I was fully gone. If you understand that, I was fully gone. I was in a beautiful. I was in City 17. It was terrifying, but it was wonderful.
City 17, of course, is the place where in Half-Life 2, where you show up on the train. It's a commuter train, though, isn't it, Al? It's not a subway, because it kind of looks like what you might see in a New York subway train, but in fact, if you kind of pay attention to what that is, that does seem to be a commuter train. And having visited places that have commuter trains that have carriages that look kind of like subway cars, I think I can make that distinction with some what do you call it? Authority.
Well, some of the trains were broken, but some were above ground, some were below ground. But you do ride. There are several trains in. It's not a game actually. It's more of a world.
Says, "Welcome to City 17. I decided to live here, so won't it be nice for you to live here?" And
who said this?
The beard man, and watching that, and watching those clips, looking, at least once a week I go back and I watch the clip of the man with the beard on the screens in City 17, and I do wonder, I hope that Acton Breen, Dr. Breen, I hope he turned out okay, because I figured it out that he doesn't in the end of Half-Life 2, but there's so much open-endedness in the Half-Life series that I think that he could have survived and he might be doing quite better.
I can't. Yeah. Well, this is a prequel game, and anyways, as I was saying, I had a full life there with a family and everything, and I was with people who I deeply cared about, and I passed into another dimension that was quite stunning, and I do have to say that there's something about being back with you, Robbie, which is not a blessing. I mean, it is a curse. No, it's not a curse. It is a blessing, because I do love Robbie, and I want everyone to know that I do love Robbie. But there's something just not as tactile about this world, and I am quite dizzy. But what you said last week about the mind of God, I think I actually know what you mean now that I've experienced some time in this heavenscape that I experienced.
And it would very, very understand that there's very detailed object interaction. You can interact with a lot of objects in the environment. You can bring them to your hand. You can look at, turn them over. I mean, isn't that quite like Shenmue when that came out in the year 2000?
Yeah, it was quite like Shenmue, but and what you're saying is I have been having a hard time since leaving moments ago. I've been having a hard time grasping objects and I do want this show this episode of EGI to end so I can go back. I wanted to go back. I do want to go back.
Yeah, of course. So when it's like, if I can just do a quick demonstration for the EGI audience, it's sort of like you pick up an object and you kind of just like look at it like.
How do you do? Yeah, yes, and I actually can. I feel like I can grab that.
And you turn it over, and it's sort of. If you and this is of course a Amazon Kindle Fire charger. So great work, Alan.
Thanks,
glad
Robby.
to have you back. Glad to have you back from City
I miss you so much.
17. And we'll be checking in with you throughout the show. But right now
we still in quarantine?
We still are in quarantine. You can't come over. I can't have you come over and endanger me and endanger the Electronic Game Information remote studio here in beautiful northeast Los Angeles, California. And we have our next.
Come over.
You can't come over, Alan. We have our next segment, Alan. Are you excited for a segment? It's a rerun of an old segment, but with a new twist, and that is, of course, how much does it cost versus how much am I willing to pay for it? And this is Peripherals edition. So in the previous version of how much does it cost versus how much am I willing to pay for it, we were, of course, talking about a number of games that I was waiting to be on sale. And in Peripherals edition, we're not quite doing the same thing. We are looking just at game controllers and peripherals that I've already got all the controllers I need, so we're not looking at a sale necessarily. We're just sort of looking at one might say a once in a lifetime opportunity to buy these wonderful controllers. And let's dive right into this. It's wonderful, Alan, to be able to use this new platform, this new show, this new version of the show in this new context to revisit the old segments from the older episodes, but in a new way, kind of glossing a new sort of cream on it, like a glistening cream. Let's start right off with the first game controller that I would like to bring right up. This is an easy one for me because I do think that these 8-bit do controllers tend to really get people excited. They're extremely well-built controllers, especially considering the I think the stigma surrounding third-party controllers on these systems. The fact that 8-bit Duo has been able to make controllers that people actually get excited about. This is one of, some people might say that this Switch controller, this Switch Pro controller, made by 8-bit Do and made in the style of the old Super Nintendo or Super Famicom controllers, is quite a popular controller. It's currently MSRP is around $44.99. It sort of hovers between $44.99 and $39.99. But I don't want to buy it for that, and although I would like to try one for myself, I'd be willing to pay a fairly premium price. But because it is a new controller and it is on the Nintendo Switch, $30.99. And some people say, "Oh, well, why didn't you just say $29.99?" Because $29.99. Next up, of course, is a Sega Saturn USB controller. This was just launched a couple years ago, around the time that the Switch came out. It sort of current MSRP hovers between $22.99 and $29.99, and I would not be willing to pay that. And this is why, Alan, because as you well know, Sega Saturn is a big, was sort of one of those. I would say a large part of my personality comes from the fact that I owned a Sega Saturn. I owned a lot of these games that are quite overlooked and currently quite rare and have just marked. I mean, you look at a copy of just even a decently cared for copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga will send you back.
Panzer Dragoon, we're talking about Panzer Dragoon Saga. Saga.
And if you see that on eBay, you see it for $400, $500 in just the discs. Not even with your slip cover, not even with the crystal case.
Do you want me to check?
Quite fragile. No, we've checked it here at Electronic Game Information. We do check these things before. So this is a controller that I would not buy because I don't have any current Saturn games, and there's not a current Saturn. There doesn't seem to be a Saturn Classic on the horizon for Robby and Electronic Game Information. So $9.99, I would like to just own the controller just so I can show it to friends from high school who might come over and say, hey, you remember those Sega Saturn 6-button controllers that we used to play Night Warriors using? Here's one
complete
right now,
collection.
$9.99.
It's a good.
Next up is, of course, the Wii peripheral from Buck Hunt, Buck Hunter, or Buck Hunter.
Can you show me what it is?
Okay, so it is a Wii peripheral that takes your Wii remote and Wii nunchuck and puts it into a shotgun. So if you think about you love these VR games, Half-Life Alyx. VR games.
Half-Life Alyx is a VR. It is VR. It is not real, but you wouldn't know from playing it.
And it is you wonder what the history behind those games are. Well, you might look no further than Buck Hunt, the shotgun controller from Buck Hunt or Buck Hunter. It's hard to it's very difficult to see how much the actual current MSRP is for the Buck Hunt. It's sort of a shell. It's sort of a hose. It's a housing hose. It's a house for your
Robbie.
remote.
I'm gonna come to your house.
It was released with the game. It was $69.99. That doesn't seem to do. I didn't really know. $69.99 was with the game disc. Yeah.
I will come to your house.
So I'm going to pay $4.99 for that house. All right. Next up is the game Phantasy Star controller, the Phantasy Star Online controller with a big keyboard right in between your GameCube controller, so you can type fast, you can type quick. I would actually be willing to pay $4.99 for this GameCube controller. Although, if you
how much?
$4.99, Alan. $4.99 for
a game?
It's got the keyboard in the middle of it. And if you get one of these Switch docks, here's the rub, Alan, is that if you get one of these Switch docks for your Nintendo Switch, one of these third-party docks, some of them have GameCube controller ports. So what my thinking is that you plug the GameCube Phantasy Star Online controller into the GameCube dock.
How?
And that allows you to use the keyboard in Animal Crossing. It makes a lot of those conversations that you have with the animals, with your friends who visit the town, the island that you've created with all of your effort. It makes that one little aspect of life on the island a little bit better. I haven't been playing Animal Crossing, of course. I've been searching for the prices. It's very hard to find the prices, the actual MSRP prices for some of these things. Of course, this is the PlayStation.
What is that?
VR game controller for the PlayStation.
Is that
PlayStation
for your leg?
System. So this is of course, a housing for the PSVR wand. They don't call it a Wiimote. They call it a wand. I think. Okay. And I would be willing to pay $4.99. Maybe $39.99 was the price of this next controller when it came out for the Sega Dreamcast at launch with the very famous fishing game. It's the fishing controller for the Sega Dreamcast. I would be willing to bet that it was around $39.99. It was difficult to find, of course, the actual price of this game. You can see, of course, that wonderful textured analog pad at the top of the.
Robbie, could you use the fishing controller to control fish in a game?
Yeah, to fish in the game, and it would be wonderful if one of these new Final Fantasy 15 games allowed you to plug in the fishing Dreamcast controller and use that, because I think I would fish more. Maybe you could plug it into Stardew Valley. I don't know.
Or Animal Crossing. You can fish in Animal Crossing.
You can fish in Animal Crossing, but this is a Dreamcast controller, and Dreamcast was a Windows CE based system.
How do you know all this stuff?
So it's got to be easier for this with an Xbox is what I'm trying to say.
But how did you know it?
Well, I would say I would be willing to pay $4.99. These next two controllers are just very, very difficult to find the original MSRP for them, because some of them didn't quite come out in the United States. The Namco Neo.
It's MSRP.
Here's the weird thing, Alan, is that so it says Neocon. You think it says Neocon, but then you look and it's sort of this weird circle with an arrow on it. You see that, Alan? You see the circle with the arrow at the top, sort of like a refreshing kind of refresh. This so that also kind of looks like a G to me. So maybe it's Negcon. So we're looking at the Namco Negcon controller, which of course was made for the PlayStation.
You want me to just Google Nedcom?
And the way that you played it was that you. No. We've got it. We've got the price. We know how much I'm willing to pay for the price. Willing to pay the price.
I will go. Okay.
So
back to
the way you
play
play the game is by twisting. You would play Ridge Racer by twisting the controller like so. That's what that circle is in the middle is a twisting motion. So it's a very strange way to play a driving game, but some people love it. It was definitely for a very niche market. If you're somebody who prefers Ridge Racer over, say, the more establishment Gran Turismo series, Ridge Racer was a bit of an upstart. Well, it wasn't always, but it became one, and I would be willing to pay $4.99 for it. Final controller in the segment is, of course, the Dragon Quest Slime controller. This is actually the PlayStation 4 controller, but version of the Dragon Slime controller. But what I was looking for, and instead got the PlayStation 4 controller. I was looking for the PlayStation 2 version that came out with Dragon Quest 8 on the PlayStation 2, which is one of which is, some people say is the game that really cracked open the Western market for the Dragon Quest series, Alan.
Yeah, I also have said that about the Slime controller.
And these Slime controllers are fun, and they're fun to hold, and they're round, and there's a little face on the bottom. You can't see that because this is just...
Can I see the
face? You can sort of see the eyes if you look at the bottom there.
Yes. Okay, cool. It's cute, like a mom.
There's the eyes, the slime, and the slimes are some people say slimes are the soul of the Dragon Quest series.
Slime is the soul of the Dragon Quest series.
So.
Oh, it's slime from the game.
Slime from the Dragon Quest series game.
I've seen the slime.
Great. And that was the
list.
That was the old. No, it was the current super laid back version. New laid back version. Old. We're old. Everything is old. Everything that was old is new again, Alan. And now I'm just keyed up because I love talking about these controllers. I love to tell people that I'm willing to pay $4.99 for a controller, and I just got to do that. So now I'm extremely keyed up. So it's time to relax with some mid to late 90s FPS footage. How does that sound?
Okay. So
let's get ready to do a visualization. Let's try a sitting visualization. So let's straighten our spines. If you can straighten your spine, Alan, just kind of make sure that your core is engaged while you're sitting down.
Oh, you want me to sit?
You want to make sure that you're able to breathe properly, that your lungs are able to expand properly. You're not putting any pressure on the base of the spine, I think is how it works. There's
put pressure on my spine.
Bad pressure, and then there's good pressure on the spine. So we want the good kind of pressure, not the bad kind of pressure. So straighten the spine, kind of make sure that your neck is kind of straight like this. And
I'm ready.
Take some deep breaths. Now imagine that you're walking into a retro gaming convention in Pasadena, California. That was canceled due to the coronavirus.
Okay.
And you're walking through the tables, you're walking through the booths, you're passing a lot of interesting gaming tchotchkes.
Wow.
Mostly Pokemon characters.
Yo, Pokemon.
And then you come across a table, a young man with dark hair and thick glasses.
Okay, I can see you.
And straight edge chest.
He's cool. Oh, it hurts.
And he has an entire display of every peripheral that I just listed.
Yeah.
And he has multiple versions of each controller, multiple colors for each controller, except for the Dragon Slime controller, which is always blue.
Right. Blue.
You ask him how much for the Neocon or Negcon controller for the Ridge Racer series.
How much for the egg control, the Neocon controller?
He says $2.99.
Okay, this is a good deal.
You say, am I hearing you correctly? Because I'm willing to pay $4.99. And he said, you look like a kind face.
I can hear you. I'll pay $4.99.
Like a kind face. I'm going to sell it to you for $2.99.
Yeah.
And you look at his straight edge tattoos and you say, this guy must be crazy.
This guy's crazy.
But $299 is too good to pass up. And you leave the Pasadena Retro Gaming Exhibition with that Ridge Racer controller, with an extra lightness in your step. Yes. Now let's watch the clip.
Okay, I'm ready.
We're ready. We'll be right back.
More than 25 millennia ago, mankind began the first tentative steps to the stars, equipped both with shockingly primitive technology and a burning desire.
Brothers, I bring grave news. A gargantuan hulk has drifted out of the warp. Imperial records have little details on its history, but it seems to be made up of at least 50 smaller hulks merged together. The whole infrastructure dates back several millennia. It is moving fast and heading on a collision course for Delvar 3. Millions of lives there are at risk. The hulk must be stopped. Unfortunately, we cannot fusion bomb it. We do not have sufficient firepower locally. Our only option is to board the hulk and progress through the darkness and unknown. We must find a warp drive and throw the hulk back into the recesses of the warp. Brothers, it may cost you your lives, but your actions will be immortalized in the history of the Blood Angels. Time is short. Once you have boarded the hulk, establish a perimeter. There must be some archived records held somewhere. Retrieve any you find. Act with haste, brothers. Bless your weapons.
Here are your objectives.
Hey, Alan, we are back, and we are getting ready to dive right into our continuing coverage of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. And I am just reattaching the thumb pad slipped off again just a second ago, and we want to make sure that we keep these analog sticks. It would be difficult to replace the sort of nub on the analog stick, so it's good to get these things in on there when you can. These ones I think might be a little bit undersized. They might have been intended for one of the PlayStation 4 controllers. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just go ahead and slip this on, Alan.
Okay, we're gonna do Amalur Reckoning, Kingdoms of Amalur.
That's right.
Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning.
Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, or sort of.
We're back.
We're back, and we are going to continue with our coverage of the Fateless, the adventures of the Fateless One in the world of the Feylands, in the worlds of Kingdom of Amalur. The story written by the wonderful R.A. Salvatore, Allen.
And what is the name of the town that the character lives in?
The town the character lives in is that's a great question, Alan. Can you look that up on your phone while I try to get this?
I can't find it.
Okay, well, we'll figure. It's like it's in the Feylands. The Feylands.
I would have called it Robby Town.
I want to call it Robby Town because Robby is not the name of my player character. It's Katie. Katie, my wonderful wife, who I love to spend time with in these fantasy worlds.
I love to spend time with Robby.
And we all love to spend time.
World.
We all look forward to the time when of course the when
your wife
when the retro game conventions can reopen, and we can visit those wonderful convention halls again with all the people who frequent them, with all the community that we've been missing so much during this
E3 this year, Robby. They canceled E3.
E3 this year. But they can't cancel the heart. They can't cancel the human heart, can they?
They're trying. They could try.
This thing is really tough to get on. Hey, Alan, what did you think of what I was saying earlier about the Resident Evil 4 play? What do you think about that?
I don't like when you do the plays. They hurt.
Oh well, guess what, Alan? The great thing about the Resident Evil 4 play is that it doesn't require doesn't require me to kill you at the end. So my feeling is that the Resident Evil 4 play. I mean, we have to protect the archive record of Resident Evil 4, and I think no better way to do that with a 480i stage version of the 480i version of Resident Evil 4. How does that sound?
Any play that doesn't get my head ripped off or my neck hurt is an A+ play in my book. I hope you get the tone. I think 480p play. It sounds interesting.
480i, Alan. 480p is it was a 480i because
it's interlaced.
It was not it was interlaced. It was very interlaced. Although it did have an GameCube did have an S video output, didn't it, Alan? Well, I mean, you're the S video champion. You're the S video champion.
Yes.
You're the S video expert, Alan. So
S video. It's just a kind of a display port for video that I did prefer interlaced video, and it was multi-prong port. It worked on all sorts of things, but it was a useful port. The S video port.
You had four plugs that you could plug right into the system.
Yes. Okay. Back to you. Are we going to play Kings of Amalur Reckoning? I want to see what's happening with
play Kings of Amalur Reckoning just a second. Once I have to get my... That does seem to be on. So let's dive right into the world of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. We are so excited to bring this. This is EGI exclusive coverage of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning.
I can't see it, and I can't see.
It is a wonderful game and a wonderful, vast world to explore during this period of time when we don't have the ability to leave our house and do the things as easily, the things that we take for granted. We're diving right in. Ready to go. We're back in the woods near the town of I think the town might actually be called Dalenarth, Alan.
Right. Okay. If it's called Dalenarth, maybe there's a setting where you can change it to Robby Town.
I don't believe that is true. So we have discovered that you can't go into this water, and you can't talk to anybody in the town. So that was our EGI current coverage of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning for this episode. Check back on Thursday when we dive right back into Kingdoms of Amalur. And let's dive into our next segment, which is It's the Arts.
Yay!
It's the Arts is, of course, fan art, EGI inspired art by the people who created, who give this show the life that it has, and with the
It's the Arts.
That's the alarm, Alan. So we're actually gonna have to do It's the Arts on Thursday. That's the Thursday.
Why?
So that means we have to move the alarm. Well, we have the alarm means that we have to move It's the Arts until Thursday.
Why is there an alarm? Are we in trouble?
Because the alarm means that we have a brand new segment. So earlier in the show, we did a segment that had that was an old segment with a new version of the segment. This is a new segment, EGI exclusive segment called Who Are All the Characters In? Who Are All the Characters In? Also known as Who Are All the Characters In : And in this episode, we will be covering the game Enclave. So this is a brand new segment where we talk about all the characters in different games. And tonight's game is Enclave for the Xbox, PC, and if you are lucky, GameCube. And there was also a Wii version, Alan. So maybe if you're looking for one of those, if you're a Wii gamer, then you could find one of those Buck Hunter controllers and play through the wonderful Enclave on the Wii. Just for those people who are not familiar with Enclave, we have a quick refresher video on what this wonderful third-person action game, hack and slash game is. So go ahead and roll that clip, please.
Die like a dog.
And we are back with Who Are All the Characters In? Who are all the characters in Enclave? Alan, are you excited about the new segment?
Yep. Very. Who are all the characters in?
Who are all the
Enclave?
characters in Enclave? Now,
This is a
Alan,
new
we
segment. This is not the arts.
We
This
sort
is
of
not
we've
art.
sort of slipped. It's the arts. It's a new segment. It's called "Who Are All the Characters In," and it is just all the characters that you can select when booting up the wonderful game Enclave on the Xbox, PC, and if you're lucky, GameCube and Wii. Alan, we are unable to take calls tonight because we have switched over to a new platform, but we are going to be looking at the chat very closely, Alan. So we've got Alan here on the chat live on AdultSwim.com. Alan, I need you more than ever to tell me exactly what people are saying about Enclave in the chat because
Okay.
I need them to help me dive right into all of these wonderful characters that you can use to go on your adventure in the game Enclave from Starbreeze Studios.
You want me to look at the chat, but I cannot see anything right now. My eyes, everything is just fuzz, and it moves with my head. You know what I mean?
Well,
like when I'm
Alan,
looking at the chat, do you understand what I'm saying, Robbie, about the chat?
Alan-
When I look at it, it is always with me.
Yes,
No matter
so
which
if you look
direction I move
straight-
my
if
head,
you look
it makes
straight
me
at-
feel
if
very,
you-
very sick, and I have to go to. I have gone to the bathroom.
Okay,
since we-
well, the way that you look at the chat is that you open both eyes, you stare at the screen, and eventually it'll come to focus. It's just like
You want me
the
to-
eye test that you do at the doctor. It's the chat. It's on AdultSwim.com/chat.
I'm going to try to read it, but it
also-
is making me very, very dizzy. Do you want me to try to read
We are
it?
talking, of course, about the game Enclave for these wonderful systems that I listed earlier. These are all the characters in Enclave, and then we have a list of the characters right here, a little packet. So let's go and start right along with the Knight. The Knight is one of the characters that you can choose when starting up Enclave to go on your adventure. And of course, we all know about Enclave now, so where you know that there are two different versions of the characters depending on if you are doing the light campaign or the dark campaign. So while you might be doing the Knight of course is strong. The Knights are strong warriors, revered for their valor in combat, and you know that means that they are going to be very good at attacking and perhaps defending. If you can see, there's sort of a.
I told you I can't see it. I told you I can't see it. Are you doing the Robbie? I don't understand the segment. I just have a quick question about the segment. Is it the list? You're listing characters in Enclave.
Just all the characters in Enclave. If it was the list,
it's
we'd be talking about a completely different set of elements. But this is just characters. I mean, characters.
But it's a list.
Alan, think about this, Alan. Is that you're playing Half-Life Alyx, and that is Half-Life.
I have stopped. I just stopped. I want to. What?
It's got the name Alex in it because of the importance of characters. So,
I thought they were saying Alan.
So this could be the Enclave, of course, is not called Enclave Knight because there are more characters than just the Knight. The Knight's weaknesses are they are very slow, weak in ranged combat, and they're able to use swords, axers, swords, axers.
Nacho Cheese asks, "What is Enclave?"
Enclave is a third-person action game from Starbreeze Studios, with I think most people would say a wonderful 6 or 7 out of 10 game that came out in 2003 on that platform and was later added to other platforms. But the Xbox and the PC versions are perhaps the ones that are best remembered in history. But
Fart for
like
me
I said,
it's just Sonic Adventure 2 battle with swords and shit. Fart for me.
No, it's not Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure 2 has, of course, wonderful loops and racing, and Sonic is racing and he's hopping and he's jumping. And although Kingdoms of Amalur does have hopping and jumping, it is not the great speed, the great level design, or the questionable level design of. That actually might be a good point because both these games do have questionable level design, Alan. So thank you for your question, and always great to hear from the fans of the show. Next character is the Huntress, and I couldn't find a picture of the Huntress, so I'll just show you a picture of the Knight again, and you can imagine that that's the Huntress. Huntress her strengths are skilled in ranged combat and fast. So if you look at the Knight or the Berserker, of course, if we're talking about the two different light and dark campaigns, so there's the Knight is the light campaign, the Berserker is the dark campaign, and same thing with Huntress. Her dark campaign, she is the assassin, and she is weak in melee combat, not very tough, Alan. Next up, we have, of course, the Druid. The Druids are the people that built Stonehenge, and they are in Enclave. Enclave for the Xbox and PC. If you're a big fan of Enclave, you can, of course, revisit Enclave and all of its glory on the PC
PlayStation
with the Good Old Game library. Good Old Game, of course, putting out old games from the early 2000s and late 90s with that are mostly compatible with current platforms. Alan, what's going on in the chat?
JF Juno asks Robby, but they spelled your name wrong. I can't. The letters. I wasn't able to read the chat. They were like the letters looked weird, but they started to form back into normal.
Right.
JF Juno asked Robby, "Do you have a better friend than Alan?" I'll say no.
No, this is true, JF Juno. I don't have a better friend than Alan, but I do have a wife who I love a great deal more.
But it's a different kind of love.
Love on many levels, I think you could say.
But it is a very different kind of love, right? You told me that. I learned that from you.
I care about Alan. I do hope that one day that he and I are able to spend time together, talk about Half-Life Alyx, play Half-Life Alyx together. I wouldn't mind.
And I am going to come over.
It does seem like that will be a game that I have to play at some point because people are talking about it. People haven't stopped talking about it. That's the thing about Half-Life Alyx. They started talking about it and it hasn't ended yet. Usually these game launches, it's kind of spin in the wind.
No, this is one of those things that you talk about forever, like the Bible, where it gets in your head and you just can't let it go.
Of course, the Bible, the Druids in the Bible are, of course, a wonderful. The Druids are weak in melee combat, not very tough. So let's get back. We're getting a little off track here, Alan. So we're talking about the characters in Enclave. So let's keep going. Keep going through the list of characters in Enclave. Engineer, Alan. Engineer, of course, is the. This is not the engineer. Her name is Mordessa. I assume that she's a knight or a berserker, and she's not an engineer. But this is just the next slide I happen to have. You can see, of course, the wonderful, just stylized character model here, Mordessa. Alan, do you see that?
No, it looks like just a shadow.
Yeah. Well, what do people? Mordessa, of course, is I assume is the name of a character from Enclave, since it's in the slides. But I don't see her here in the character list that I have now that has characters ranging from knight to huntress to druid and halfling.
Half-Life.
Halfling.
Alan. And engineer is just a job title. It's not a name of a character.
And I do believe that the main character in the original Half-Life games is an engineer. And here we're looking at halflings, but isn't that quite the same thing, Alan?
Yes.
So let's go straight down the list to the wizard, the wizard in the light campaign, the lich in the dark campaign. Lich is always a word that's confused me, because I do believe that wizard is some sort of it's like necrotic, some sort of necromancer, or perhaps the wizard went bad, I think is what happens, and he's tougher than the druid, he's tougher than the sorceress, he's weak in melee, he's not very fast. He can use daggers and magic staffs, but that's it. I mean, you really are quite limited with the wizard or the lich. Earth Golem. Earth Golem is, of course, I wasn't quite sure if this was the Earth Golem or if this was just a random enemy from Enclave for the Xbox. But here it is, exclusively here on EGI. It's the Earth Golem, Alan. And Earth Golem is one of the more powerful characters, more powerful than the Knight, even more powerful, but even slower than the Knight or Berserker. And he can be used to use their bare hand. He can use his bare hands, Alan. So that means you can go right into combat, right in Enclave, right into this amazing third-person action game, and you can dive right into that. So that was our brand new segment. Who are all the characters in Enclave? And we have just a wonderful show. I mean, we've had we've revisited old segments. We've had new segments. We've postponed looking at the art until Thursday. I think that I'm ready, Alan, to take another quick, relaxing look at Space Hulk, Vengeance of the Blood Angels, which we just looked at for the sake of soothing a fractured world, a dangerous world, a world that needs to heal. And here we are on Electronic Game Information, and don't we just have that responsibility to do that for everyone out there with this wonderful, soothing first-person shooter game footage from the late 90s, early 90s.
Yeah, anything to look at more footage of Space Hulk. And I will this time. I promise I will be able to see it on the Sega.
I realized something, Alan, is that I hadn't put exactly which version of Space Hulk Vengeance of the Blood Angels this is, but it is the Saturn version. It's the PlayStation version.
I could have told you that with my hands tied behind my back.
I can't see an archived record. Lioness, search this area for an archived record. They are contained. I can't see an archived record. Sergio, let me past! Sergio, I haven't found an archived record. I can't see an archived record. I haven't found an archived record. Lioness, take this archived record. Lioness, proceed to this area. Objective met. Lioness, hold this point. Keep alert, brothers. Objective met. This door is sealed. Back at it. Lioness, hold position. Back at it. Caliban. Sergio. Lioness, hold position. Your mission was a complete success.
And we are back, Alan. We're back with the list. We are so damn relaxed with the wonderful Space Hulk Vengeance of the Blood Angels footage.
It's
for
the list.
PlayStation. I thought it was the Sega Saturn, but it was for the PlayStation, Alan.
It's funny. It's funny that you would make a mistake like that of all people.
I mean, honestly, Alan, honestly, it's what the problem is I think that people say the Saturn was underpowered. People say the Saturn was underpowered compared to the PlayStation, but in fact, the issue was that a lot of people didn't understand the dual CPU nature of the Sega Saturn. So programming was more difficult, but the Sega Saturn was quite capable of showing games that looked exactly like PlayStation games. Space Hulk Vengeance of the Blood Angels, although we didn't look at the Sega Saturn version, is of course no different. So let's dive right into the list. Alan, talking about Enclave has gotten me so excited to talk about tonight's list, which is a list of Starbreeze Studios games. Starbreeze Studios, of course, are the people behind the wonderful Enclave on the Xbox, PC, and you know the rest, Alan. So we're going to dive right into the list of Starbreeze Studio games right after I say the Enclave one more time. So
do you need me to tell it to the camera that we're doing the list?
You can tell. We just need you to focus in on the chat. The chat's relaxed. Everyone's relaxed. We're all calmed down. We're all looking forward to hearing about Starbreeze Studios' game, The Darkness, another first-person shooter, not another first-person shooting game. Although Enclave does have first-person shooter segments, The Darkness was the first, or it could have been. It's not even it's not the first, but it was one of the. It was in the list of Starbreeze Studio games. It is a first-person shooter. Is all I'm trying to say. Of course, it was based on the wonderful Top Cow comic book series of the same name, The Darkness, about a young mob enforcer who gets caught up with the wrong people, sent to hell, which is kind of like a prison, sent to prison or hell, and is then overtaken by a creature from the darkness. Who is the darkness?
Yeah, you don't want to get mixed up with the mob.
You never get mixed up with the mob, Alan.
Hell.
Don't go to hell. Don't get mixed up with the mob. You could have just two things that you remember for your entire life. Those two things will basically get you through, I think, most circumstances in life.
Yeah, you have such good advice.
Thank you, Alan. Of course, the Darkness has a number of heads. The heads are vines. The body gives birth to the vines, and the heads chomp. The heads heads of the mobsters, you eat the hearts of the mobsters, you eat the hearts of your enemies. You can also you can also hurt random people, good people,
Why?
the good people of the city. You don't want to do that, because I think that the point of the darkness is to actually expunge the darkness. And this is the thing about darkness, is that usually when you have something called, it's like Apocalypse Now isn't about teaching people how to experience the apocalypse. The apocalypse is happening, and we have to survive through it. And so that is sort of the same kind of, if you think about the internal machinations of characters in games like The Darkness, I think you'll understand what I'm saying. The Darkness, of course, had a wonderful, unforgettable moment where you just watched To Kill a Mockingbird on television for the entirety of the movie, if you so choose. You don't have to, but you get it. You get a special Xbox Live gamer reward points if you do watch the entirety of To Kill a Mockingbird.
And talk about the legalities of getting an entire movie.
Well,
like
I believe I can only assume that To Kill a Mockingbird was so happy that when because they've been looking To Kill a Mockingbird, the people behind that great film have been looking for an opportunity ever since it came out in the 1960s to basically cash in, because they didn't make any money off that movie. That was
why not make a little money off of a movie? People already saw it.
Gregory Peck took up the whole budget.
Robby, you always have reminded me of Gregory Peck.
And I don't have anything to back that up, but I can only assume that was so. When they got that call from Starbreeze Studios, and they said, we're putting together The Darkness and To Kill a Mockingbird, the people at To Kill a Mockingbird said, great, let's get that in there. I've always dreamed of having having this wonderful film that we all put our hearts and souls into play on a tiny little black and white TV in an apartment in a 3D environment.
Me too. We should do a play where you play Gregory Peck and I play the Mockingbird.
The Mockingbird, of course, is not in The Darkness. It's Starbreeze Studios on the list. So let's go and dive right back into the list with Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, Chronicles of Riddick,
Escape from Butcher Bay.
One of the great Xbox first-person shooter adventures. People call it a shooter, people call it an adventure game. I think you have to combine the two when talking about Escape from Butcher Bay. You're Riddick. You've gone to prison, which is kind of like hell, as we've discovered in our discussion of The Darkness. And so we are going to have to assume that the Riddick is experiencing his own personal hell as he escapes Butcher Bay. Vin Diesel is the voice. Vin Diesel is the face. He's Riddick. It's Starbreeze Studios. Enclave was being a great 6 or 7 out of 10 game. Chronicles of Riddick was, of course, a 9 or even 10 out of 10 games.
So you didn't like the game.
I love the game.
But it's too many points out of 10.
About the show. So it's not on the list is the thing. Is that we're putting it out here so we can talk about the next Chronicles of Riddick game, which is Assault on Dark Athena, which most people say is a mediocre follow-up to a great game. So
it's on the list.
Bay is not on the list. Dark Athena, Escape Butcher Bay, Assault Dark Athena. So
Robby,
Assault Dark Athena is on the list, but not the first.
But I just want to clarify a question about EGI. You like good games, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 games. You do like them.
I love them, but they're not on the list.
But they're never on the list, and they're not something you choose to talk about. And my hand is my whole arm has gone numb.
Well, because here's the thing: is that I would normally put it when I sometimes will put a 9 out of 10 game on the list, but sometimes it's next to on the list. When it's next to on the list, a 6 or 7 out of 10 game, I do not want both on the list. So I just take out the 9 out of 10 game and leave the 6 out of 7 out of 10 game.
Got it.
And that was Starbreeze Studios list. It was the Starbreeze Studios games on the list. Thank you so much for the list. The list is one of those ways that we definitely process all the great electronic game information that we do have here in our hearts, in our minds, in our heads. Alan, how did you think that the show went this evening?
You're asking about tonight's episode of EGI? If I had to rate it out of all the episodes of EGI you've ever done?
Don't hold back. Don't feel free to harm the feelings. Is what
okay, I don't want to hurt your feelings, Robby, and I don't think I am, because it is a compliment. This is the best episode I have ever seen of EGI, including every other episode, including the ones that I do love and that are better.
Okay, so that is a high compliment from EGI special correspondent Alan Resnick, friend of the show, following up one of the top, because we really went deep into what the list is tonight.
Yeah, this is a good list.
It was a good episode. We went far. We dived deep. I had a friend who dived too deep once, and he died in a blue hole in I believe in the Bahamas. So
This is a sad story.
it's a sad story. I don't like
Maybe
to talk
let's
about
take
him.
this
He wasn't
offline.
really quite my friend. He did die in that way, but he wasn't quite a friend. He was more of an acquaintance, and I was pretty sure I didn't like him because
But a tragedy for the family.
it was a tragedy for the family, and also I do think that he deserved a long life because doing those whole dives where you have to hold your breath for 15 minutes, those are pretty impressive.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Back to you, Robby. Is the
Thank
show
you,
over?
Alan. The show's over. We'll be back on Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have, of course, 2 episodes a week. Tonight, of course, we were on at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then Thursday we do 1 hour later because that's the opportunity that we have to bring the show 2 nights a week.
Love that.
So we'll be back on Thursday, and don't worry, we will get to It's the Arts on Thursday. Apologies for the confusion earlier, but we did have a brand new Enclave-based version of a new segment that you'd never heard of before, and we needed to get that out there, Alan, and now it's out there. So people
I do miss the arts, and I am gonna come visit you, Robby. I'm gonna come over because I do think the quarantine is about done.